I'm going to go over some recent booming drama in the fandom right now that seems to have a bunch of fans divided. If you don't have Twitter, or you don't know what I'm talking about, or even somehow you've been able to avoid it the entire time on Twitter, congrats. I envy you. From the moment I woke up and I checked my notifications like any Twitter artist does on the daily, I began to see a post of someone mentioning the said drama that we're about to address, and it all began with me asking, what? And little did I know that question would be answered by everyone seemingly in the fandom having an opinion on this. So, to fill you in, the lead voice actor for Helluva Boss, Brandon Rogers, fell into some hot water when a minor wrote a thread about how they had been taken advantage of by him on April 8th, just a couple days ago. Now please, I want to say from the beginning, do not harass or threaten this child or anyone involved in this matter. It's very clear that something did in fact happen, or else they wouldn't have been mentioned by Brandon Rogers himself to begin with on a post. Whether or not the accusations are as bold as his minor claims, it is up for discussion and speculation until more can be brought to light, either by the VA minor or a actual third party that was directly involved. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and read the post out and supply screenshots of the post, and when I'm done, I'll go everything through my own lens. Just keep in mind that this is in fact the internet, and you shouldn't take everything you see at face value. So let's go ahead and begin. First off, I'm actually not going to censor the minor at this point in time. If it was anything else, I would, but this post has been all over Twitter, and also their name is provided in their own screenshots. So I assume that they don't mind if their name actually gets in there. So for this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and refer to them as Jaden, as it's in their name and also provided in the screenshots. They start this open by saying, a thread about my experience with this one YouTuber / voice actor who most of my mutuals most likely know, and a cute gif of Octavia. They said, first off, there might be a lot more that I left out, that this has been going on for months, so my memory is a little fuzzy, and I'm also covering just the main parts here. Other parts I'm scared to talk about. With that being said, I'll start with my relevance to him. They continue saying, I first met him in September of 2024 when I had just turned 15. He DM'd me on Instagram asking for a paid favor, and I blindly agreed. The first red flag is that he asked me out of all options he had. I was also very clearly lost, and I repeatedly told him that I was 15 and I don't understand, and they provide 3 screenshots of messages they sent Brandon. The first one says, I could most definitely do that. I'm 15, so I don't really have any specific rate or anything. I don't really even understand. And the rest is blocked out. The next one is blocked out. It says, sorry if I'm asking too many questions. I'm just not 100% what you want. The third one is again blocked out. It says, but if I may ask, what exactly are you posting? I'm not sure if I quite understand. Sad face. They continue saying, at first, this was a paid favor, but an issue came up that led him to offer a shout-out post instead. I blindly agreed, and since I was intimidated by him, he posted the shout-out, but it wasn't properly credited for all the work that I did for him. They continue saying, why is this an issue? He knew that I was 15 and I was clearly lost. He had many different choices, but chose to stick with the confused and easily influenced teenager. Also, how he changed his mind to a shout-out instead of proper payment. I was very easily influenced by him. May not seem like a big issue at the point of my experience, but this was only September and October. This is the only first issue and also explains my relevance and connection to him despite him literally being a celebrity. I also received an unnecessary amount of hate from his fandom, being that I was made an easy target for jealous people to slander. Months later, he and I remained consistently interacting online, and people also remain jealous of our quote-unquote connection. They provide 2 screenshots here. I'm not exactly quite sure the context, if it's them taking this screenshot and posting or if it's a different person. It shows an Instagram highlight where it says, blank, get away from me bro, I just woke up, and it shows some people reacting to their post. And then the second one, again, blank, I literally just saw this, but hi, I'm still mad at you / joking. Since January 25, I found out that a group of much older, jealous fans were spreading rumors about me. I DM'd him about it, but he was dealing with his own personal issues, so I never thought it would be brought up again. And in parentheses it says, this is the only screenshot I have. I'd unsend a lot of my messages because I was insecure. But this screenshot they provided is the text box before the message is sent, saying, "Jealous former friends, I'm sorry, this is stupid. Sir, blank out message, and I'd hate for you to dislike me for a false claim, but this message was never sent." They continue saying, in late January, he announced that he was coming to Canada in February. I had known months prior, but January was when it was first publicized. So I was able to start planning my trip to the city he was going to so we could meet at the convention. A week before the convention in Vancouver, someone told him that I was meeting him that next week. So a few days prior to the convention, I was nervous, so I talked to him about my nerves, and I told him about a gift I was preparing. I also emphasized that I was flying out for him. It provides a screenshot where the beginning half of it is blanked out. It says, "I've been putting together a small gift before my flight," and the rest of the sentence is blocked out with a smiley face only remaining. Next is day 1 of the con, February 21st. I immediately went to his table. He wasn't there yet, but I waited almost 2 hours to finally get to the front of his line, and I was confronted by security. They brought me upstairs to where I met with his manager. She told me that I couldn't meet him. I was informed an anonymous report was made on me. I immediately knew it was the same people spreading rumors about me the month before, so I was restricted from meeting him because of the false claims made against me, but I also apparently made threats towards him, ? They continue saying, I was escorted out by security afterwards. He was also secluded and had extra security installed, most likely because of me. He also told fans who asked about it that I threatened his life. I didn't do that, by the way, and provided a before and after pic of a security curtain being provided. They continued saying, I DM'd him about it multiple times, but he didn't respond. A couple weeks after DMing him multiple times, I attempted to contact his manager in March, and it didn't get any response from there either. I assumed his manager just didn't see my email and just left me on scene. They provided screenshots with a blanked out message saying, I'm not too sure who I'm supposed to reach out about this, sir, but I mean to give you and perhaps your management a better understanding of the situation that I was informed of today. The rest of the paragraph is censored. It says, but I'm concerned about the anonymous claims being made about me, and the rest of it is censored, and it's dated February 21st, 2025 at 10:58 p.m. The next screenshot they provide is an email, just having their email slightly censored. The two censored, and it dated March 15th at 10:48 a.m. They continue saying, the day after he left me on scene, he went live on Insta. A close friend of mine commented a joke about training a horse to beat him up. It's a common joke because of his character loves horses, but he himself hates them. He reads the comment. He DM'd my friend after the live ended and asked what con they were going to go to in April. My friend didn't say that they were going to any con. They told him that they can't even afford it. They apologized and cleared up the joke, and he remained persistent. The next three screenshots are censored, where it just says, which con are you going to in April? The next one says, I take it pretty seriously and people joke about harming me. Which city are you in? It says, my friend mentioned me to him, and he left them on scene and just dropped the entire issue after that. Nearly a week later, March 27th, he made an Instagram post. Multiple friends of mine were calling him out in his comments, and he blocked all of them. This is the sort of comment they left. It says, asking a 50-year-old what city they're in is absolutely bonkers. No wonder why you blocked the account calling you out. Hiring a 15-year-old and not paying them is low-key insane. A joke has to be funny, and it's someone claiming they're going to train a horse to beat me up. Isn't that funny? Did you perhaps groom a 15-year-old child? When were you going to talk about the Vancouver, though? Pushing 40 and scared of a 15-year-old, please get serious. They continue saying he knew it was wrong for over a month, and he consistently did whatever he could to avoid anything to do with me. He left me on scene, and when I tried sorting things out with him, he dropped an issue he took seriously. After I was mentioned, he blocked multiple of my friends. However, I DM'd him again March 31st. I wasn't in the best headspace, so I said a few things that I shouldn't have, but he finally responded to me. It didn't fix anything. Instead of taking accountability, he kept dismissing and deflecting. They provide 3 more screenshots that are a cropped message surrounded by a text box where it says, the screenshot says, Hi Jaden, when someone makes a joke about harming another person, conventions have a zero tolerance policy, especially with how many families attend these events. I did not want you to be escorted out, but when security pinpointed who you were, there was nothing I could do. The text box above that reads, I explained to him multiple times that I didn't make any threat towards him. Even if I did, I told him that I understand the policy. I've expressed multiple times that my concern was the claims made against me, not the threat. The next screenshot, again cropped, surrounded by a text box, says, "And just so you know, before we even knew who you were, the staff was already asking me if they can call security on your mother, who was giving one of the employees a hard time, calling them a bitch and so on. But I fought hard so you could stay there and we could meet." The text box above that says, "He even brought my mother into this. My mother wasn't even with me for most of the time in his line at the con. Even when she was, she didn't even speak to anyone. There was another woman who they might have mistaken for my mother, but my actual mother didn't do that. I just don't know why mentioning what my mother allegedly did had to be mentioned." The next one is just like a couple lines. Says, "However, I do not appreciate being threatened in response to or being bullied by your friends," and then the blocked out, I assume, names. And the next text box says, "He implied that I threatened him into responding, like, I'm sorry, but if he had responded earlier, maybe I wouldn't have said something to make him realize how the situation can affect him, but also bullied by my friends. I literally apologized to him for not being able to keep my friends in line before that. But my friends honestly had a point. They were just calling him out on his bullshit." The next comment in the thread is, "He did apologize for my bad experience and he offered to get me a refund, which I do appreciate. However, it doesn't change that he appeared to have been deflecting and dismissing and didn't address any of my concerns." Again, shown is a cropped screenshot of a couple lines saying, "I am sorry you had a bad experience. I can talk to the con about refunding you if they haven't yet." They continue saying, "Yesterday, April 7th, I responded since I hadn't yet, and I was honest about how I felt directly if my concern about the anonymous reports and claims and concerns for when I met him could be properly addressed, since I felt like he was dismissing them. Then I was told that he wasn't allowed to interact with his fans anymore, and from now on a team will be managing his social media for him. I was redirected to his manager again, the manager that didn't respond to me nearly months ago. And my response to that was, alright, I understand. I've already contacted your management regarding the fan expo nearly a month ago, and I didn't get a response. That led me to contact you directly, but now I'm being pointed back to management. My second concern was about how we first quote-unquote met when I was hired. I'm rather uncertain your management would be unable to address my second concern in that way that is satisfactory, being that was a personal matter/issue. They said, he understandably left me on scene, but now I'm unsure of what to do. I don't even know how to feel. I'm glad he can't talk to me anymore because I felt afraid and stuck with him for a while, but I am concerned about how many mutuals in this fandom are thinking of me. I was blindly loyal to him, and not only because I was a fan, but because he took advantage of that. He knew that I loved and admired him, even though we were going back and forth in an argument. He shouldn't have been allowed to talk about his fans in the first place, especially a minor. He essentially did take advantage of me. He abused his power, he wanted nothing to do with me, and he refused to listen to me until he felt threatened into doing so. I don't know what to think, really. I just hope this is something. This might not seem like the biggest deal, but I want to emphasize that I had to leave out smaller details because 1, I'm scared, and 2, I'm only covering the main events. Message I found of me explaining why this was so important to me too, by the way. They provided another screenshot, this time a larger one, where a lot of the text is blacked out. It says, "It's a big deal because of how much I've lost and gone through. There's been several different issues that have came up with Blank and his management with the past few months. He even reached out to one of my friends last week, Blank, but stopped replying after I was mentioned. So I know he knows what's going on. He's literally avoiding anything to do with me." The next couple sentences are blocked out. "I've lost a shit ton of money that I could have prevented if Blank or his management just reached out to me instead of waiting for the last second. Irreparable damage to my reputation was caused," another blacked out sentence, "and just a lot of emotional distress was caused. So no, I'm not being dramatic. This shouldn't be dismissed just because I'm a fan and I'm not a celebrity." And that is the end of their thread, give or take another thing. So, some things that I would like to address before getting into what other people have said or researched. Number 1, the biggest thing that I noticed is all the screenshots are heavily cropped. Another word for it is being cherry-picked. All of the context for these messages are cropped out. Context is very important, especially when the term grooming is being thrown around. Grooming is normally understood by modern media and most reports of it for being sexual in nature, but I've also seen people say that grooming doesn't have to be sexual in nature and that it could just be a term for manipulating a minor as well. I personally could see that, but I see no manipulation present. The second obvious thing that's present is the heavily censored messages. Even messages we do end up seeing are blacked out or blurred. I could understand if this was private information like email, phone numbers, addresses, or legal names, but the frequent occurrence, again, makes it hard to understand what's actually going on. It leaves a vague feeling around each screenshot provided and a feeling of uncertainty. And the things that they are claiming are even harder to take at face value. Third, and the less known thing that is easier to gloss over, is that some of the message that they provided weren't even sent. The screenshot they took were again cropped, and it was just a message in a text box. I could type anything out to anyone and claim that I sent it. That doesn't mean that I did. In the end, I can just delete it and continue on. As the drama has continued, more people have their own findings and posts of this child obsessing over Brandon prior or during this event. The child themselves even posted evidence that their friends, quote-unquote, harassed Brandon through his comment section and about things where they threw accusations around. After reading through everything for the third time and looking at what other people had found, I personally believe that this is what could have happened. Actually, hold on. I think I've overlooked some very important points in my initial post. You see, I went through all of this after reading it a couple times, and I even went through and I edited it and I posted it to YouTube, rewatched it again to make sure that it was, uploaded correctly. And then I realized, A, some of the things that I assumed were already confirmed from the child, where they already agreed to take the shout out. But here's a couple points that I've realized I completely left out. 1. The minor admitted indirectly to having threatened Brandon in order to get him to respond the last time by saying, "He implied that I threatened him into responding. Like, I'm sorry, but if he had responded earlier, maybe I wouldn't have said something." 2. The minor had admitted to harassing Brandon after he no longer wished to speak to them, after he was told that OP had tried to threaten him by saying, "I DM'd him multiple times, but he didn't respond. A couple of weeks of DMing him multiple times, I attempted to contact his manager. ... I didn't get a response." 3. OP openly said that they agreed to a shout-out instead of compensation. So if OP is upset at all that they didn't get any money, that is on themselves. They should have stuck to their initial terms, and I get being influenced. But again, that's not necessarily why they're upset or why they're making this post. I'm not exactly quite sure the reasoning why they're trying to spread this information and what exactly is the goal. They're claiming that they were groomed and or manipulated, but the only thing we've seen in all the screenshots is actually them contacting Brandon over and over and over again, harassing them for more information, or to at least clear the air that there was no threats. But in all honesty, it's perfectly fine if Brandon didn't want to talk with someone after hearing rumors that they had threatened their life. I would also stop talking to someone if I found out that they had indirectly told someone that they were threatening me or made any sort of remark of threatening. It would make sense why they were kicked out of the con to begin with. I believe that there should have been evidence of this person making said threat, and that is why they had to do it. And even if there was no threat, or it was just a rumor, they need to protect the voice actor. It's been shown that the child had already really liked Brandon. I mean, in all honesty, if I was Brandon and I found out this child was making posts such as, "There's going to be a look-alike contest at my house, and now how much they adore me and love me," I would feel really awkward and I wouldn't want to talk to them either. In all honesty, it just really seems that the child got upset that Brandon no longer wanted to talk to them, which led them down a point of harassing, trying to get their attention. I understand that someone may have spread rumors about the child and they wanted to clear it up, but harassing the voice actor isn't going to help. All in all, I understand that grooming could be manipulation and or sexual intention, but I don't see any of that. All the screenshots provided are just OP texting the person over and over and over again, trying to clear up the air. They said that they're not even upset they didn't get compensation. They said that they're not even upset about the quote-unquote threat, they just wanted to clear the air. It's okay that the voice actor didn't even want to contact them in the first place, or specifically ignored them, or the people that were harassing him, or the people that were associated with them. I think it's pretty reasonable that they wanted to create a distance between the two of them, and that they no longer felt comfortable talking to a minor. It's just some points that I've seen that people really haven't brought up, something that I specifically overlooked in mine, that it's perfectly fine if an adult no longer wishes to talk to a child, either because they felt uncomfortable at first, or if there were actual threats made against him. It's already been shown by the own minor, mentioned in their own words, that they had eventually threatened him to respond. Until further evidence is able to be provided, I'm not going to side with the minor, and I have finally made my decision, because after realizing all this information, it doesn't look very good. It doesn't look like the minor was harassed in any way or groomed in any way. And they say that they're not revealing most of their screenshots, or why it's heavily censored, is because that they're scared, but in all honesty, I think that the rest of the screenshots may make them look bad, and that is why they're not revealing them all. And if the minor does end up revealing it, and showing the rest of the screenshots, I'll personally look through it all and reread it and take in all the context, and then come to my own conclusion of whether or not it was justified. And another thing that hasn't really been addressed is how the original poster is actually retweeting and liking a bunch of stuff on their own page that makes it seem like they were actually groomed by this adult, when all in all it looks like they approached this person for a job, the minor accepted, which they could have refused, and then they were supposed to get paid. They didn't get paid. Instead, they agreed to a shout out. And that seems to be the end. They claim that there was a friendship or interaction afterwards, but the only thing we see is OP texting him and him not responding. Even the Instagram posts where they may have liked something that the person had posted still doesn't prove that there was an actual friendship, conversation, or anything else afterwards. And as we wrap things up, I want to address something. If not, I have a question. Why crop everything? If the minor is bold enough to come forward with a report on a person that is hideous in nature with key terms being thrown around like grooming, why is everything censored and cropped? In the screenshots, no grooming was shown. You think if they were trying to accuse someone of this, you'd want to show the incriminating parts. Yet the child doesn't do so because they claim that they're scared. If you have solid evidence of this happening, why would you be scared? Wouldn't it make it only worse to show the parts that aren't incriminating? So if the minor sees this video, it would be best to show the entire story and not pieces. Although I don't agree with the voice actor's choice to speak with a child in the first place, you've put yourself in an untrustworthy situation. I know personally I cannot prevent people from calling it lies and just saying it's rumors to protect someone they like, but if we had the full context, it would help patch those holes. Sure, it wouldn't help everyone, there is no pleasing every single person on earth, but the people who actually do care would listen. But at this point in time, it doesn't look too good, and it comes off kind of fishy. I'm very curious to see how Brandon, or if Brandon, addresses these concerns. The only thing I want to see is context, so I can actually see the full picture, or close to it. I hope this video is helpful. Again, I will say please do not harass anyone listed in this video, especially the minor.